Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me this morning is a phenomenal woman that I've had the pleasure of knowing for some time now. She is a wife, she's a mother, she's a servant leader, but most importantly, she's a woman of God. And she's taken time out of her very busy schedule to hang out with us for a little while with the hopes of sharing a bit of her journey, a bit of her story, with the desire to encourage, to uplift, to inspire, especially when it comes to dealing with the adversities and challenges that we all face in life. So it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you our special guest today, Miss Jackie Calahan. Jackie, thank you so much for being on the show.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
All right, all right. So I'm excited. I'm pumped to have you on board this morning, and I know I'm going to be blessed. I know my listeners are going to be blessed. So before we jump, I should say, into our segments for today, I do want to give you an opportunity to give a brief introduction of yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do, kind of give the audience a taste of who is Jackie Calahan.
Well, I'm Jackie Callahan, and that's how I introduce myself. Jackie Callahan with one L. If you send two L's, I won't get your message. So, but I'd like to begin with letting you know that I'm number 9 out of 11, depending on which sibling you ask. I am the oldest. I am the youngest. I'm the middle child, and I'm the only child. So my rank is number 9, and in between 9 and 8, I'm the youngest. But my dad married my mom, having 8 children already. So I'm the only child.
Wow.
We adopted 2 children under me. So that made me the oldest child. And I am in the middle of 2 sections of children. So I'm the middle child. So I relate to everything. So I'm old, I'm young, I'm in the middle, and I'm the only child. So, but I had great parents growing up. Um, I just thought of something that was really profound when I was growing up. Our house was in the center of the block. So everything in the 60s and 70s, people used to walk and canvass the neighborhood. Well, everyone would stop at my mom's house. Everyone. We would be the guinea pig of the neighborhood. So if there was a person running for election, they would stop at my mom's house. If a person wanted to sell something, a vacuum cleaner, insurance, they would stop at my mom's house. They wouldn't stop anywhere else. They would stop at, I was going to give the address, but my sister lives there now, so I won't give the address. But but my sister also gets the middle house treatment. So that was just odd that just popped into my mind. But I was a very loved child. As you can see, I've um, if I'm number 9 and there's a 10-year gap between 9 and 8, there was a 24-year gap between 9 and 1.
Mm.
So all of my brothers and sisters treated me as if I was their beloved child. So that's where I'm going to leave that. So I had a very good upbringing, very strict. It was like the color purple. We were not able to get off of the porch. We could touch the mailbox, but we couldn't get off the porch.
Wow. Love it.
So some people say, "Oh, you look so good." It was because we couldn't do a thing.
Hmm.
We couldn't do a thing but smell the sunshine and smell the air and get in the sunshine and listen to the radio.
Okay, okay.
So I know every song it is from the 60s and 70s and some 80s, a lot of 80s. I know
Okay.
every song. Okay.
Nice, nice, nice. Definitely a very interesting family dynamic. How you just said, I'm the youngest, I'm the middle, I'm the oldest, just kind of meshed all in between there. That's very distinct, very unique in its own way. I don't think I've ever met anybody that kind of fit in that category quite like that. So I can only imagine that had to be a an interesting experience. And I actually want to build on that a little bit more. Because As with all of my guests that I bring on the show, when we talk about our stories, our journeys, I always like to take a moment to pause and reflect back to the beginnings of where that story originates, because I believe that a lot of things go on early on in life, throughout childhood, that may not always make sense to us at that time, why they are the way that they are, the people that we encounter at that time. But as you age and you get those experiences under your belt, you begin to kind of connect the dots, and it begins to piece together, and you start to make you bring forth some understanding as to, okay, this is why I had to go through what I went through, or what I experienced, or that person encountering
Mhm.
into my life, or what have you. So with that said, again, I want to delve in a little bit more about what it was like for you growing up. So if you would kind of share with us, what was that experience like, being in the house of, you got 9 kids, all these various in ages and such, growing up, in that environment. What was it like growing up? Please share with us any fond memories that you have, as well as if there's any particular challenges that come to mind, in your upbringing, if you will. Just kind of giving us that more of that foundational basis of where your story begins.
Well, you just made a memory come to me. And it was the first time that I met my brother
Oh.
because when I was when my mom and dad got married,
Hmm.
my sister, number 8, she was 6 years old. I didn't come along for 4 more years.
Hmm.
So she was 10 and she was the baby.
Okay.
And she has not let me forget it to this day, 2025 to this day. And my dad moved them out of the projects and then eventually into like some better apartments. And then when it was only 2 older girls and myself, we moved into our Oak Cliff house. We were one of the first Black families on the street. So that was different. Everyone was really nice. And then some, either they talked to you or they didn't.
Hmm.
And we had a very lovely older couple that were very loving to us and our family. And that being said, going back to my brother was in the military. He went in at an early age. He told my mom if she didn't sign the papers because he was so young, he would forge them.
Mm.
So she went on and signed them. It was a very good experience. He retired out of the army and everything, but I didn't know my brother, and he was I think the fourth or fifth child, and he was already gone. So I have no memory of my brother until he came home with a wife to stay maybe a month or two while he got himself together in a home.
Mm.
So I never even knew that brother. And he now lives in Oklahoma, and we have a very good relationship. And I tease him all the time. And my oldest sister, who did not grow up with the family, she grew up with our mom's mom. And so she came when she was 16 after our grandmother passed away. She was approximately 16 years old. And she came, lived for a little while, but she was married. All of my memories of her, she was a married woman.
Hmm.
So fast forward to 2014, I prayed to the Lord to have time with her. And I kid you not, I was her caregiver from 2014 to 2022 until her passing.
Wow.
And we were Siamese twins, literally. But I had no relationship with her. We would have family get togethers, and all of my older brothers and sisters would get in the good time van and
Hmm.
drive off. And my nieces and nephews would look at me and say, "Why you not going?" And I'm going like, "I'm not their age.
Yeah.
I was a teenager. I wasn't their age. They were moms and dads, and they needed to get away from the kids,"
Hmm.
which sparked another memory. One day, me and my nieces and nephews were out in the backyard playing as children do. And of course, the kids say, "Hey, it's time for a snack. What can we get? Well, like, I don't know. But they said, go in the house and ask my mama for some yoo-hoos. I don't even know what yoo-hoos are. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but it's the
You are.
chocolate deep milk thing. And I was like, well, why do y'all think they'll listen to me? And so my niece turned around and said, we're their children. You're their sister. And hence, we got snacks all the time. Because they would send me in there to request these things. We went to McDonald's when children did not go to McDonald's in our neighborhood.
Hmm.
We didn't go to Jack in the Box. We didn't go to McDonald's. But we went to those places because they told they Aunt Jackie to go in there and pull her rank. And
Wow.
yeah, we even got toys. And in the 70s, that didn't happen for us because our moms cooked. And it was an insult to eat fast food or cereal because I'm cooking. I'm cooking you a full breakfast. Why do you want to eat Cocoa
Hmm.
Pops and King Vitamin and all of that other kind of stuff?
That is so true. I mean, as you're sharing this, I'm thinking back to myself, like you said. I mean, it and kids don't, of course, don't have an appreciation for that
No.
today. I mean, I mean, it was like, yeah, we wanted to be able to do stuff like that, like you said, the McDonald's and stuff. But if you grew up in the house, one, you had people in the house that were going to cook, and assuming, of course, that they knew how to cook. Oftentimes, you preferred that over
Yeah.
the McDonald's. I mean, I think back to I would have taken my mom or my grandmother's hamburgers and fries over McDonald's and all the other places back then, or whatever meals that they had, and just even things like Sunday dinners, that being
Yeah.
a normal thing rather just being a holiday event where you sat around. That was just a regular thing, back then, and you didn't, and like you said, and going out to eat was more of a treat than it
That's
was an expectation. And
mhm.
thinking about my daughter now, what we allow her to get away with, I would have never gotten. I don't want that. Can I
Not
have
at
this? Is that?
all.
Well, you just wouldn't have eaten tonight if you didn't want that. So, it's really good when I hear stories like that because like I said, it triggers memories in myself as well. Like I said, thinking back to how it used to be and the simplicity of it, but at the same time the loving, the caring nature of it. Having that extended family, if you will, whether it was neighbors, whether it was or the like that's coming alongside and being there for the family. It's almost like you had these additional parents or that it was watching out for you. So if you were cutting up, they would get with you, and then your actual parents is gonna get with you when they got home. So things like
Mhm.
that. So that's
Yeah, my
good.
sister was exiting high school when I was going into school.
Okay.
So one day, I don't know why she was home, but she was home, and I was going to the community center. The TD Marshall Community Center is no more, but that school literally was unpacked and set up in like a week or two.
Hmm.
It was all the community centers were like prefabricated buildings, and they just one day it was land, and the next day there was a school. But one day, well, several days, this girl would just taunt me, just taunt me, taunt me, taunt me. So one day I said, my sister's at home. I'm going to run home today. I'm running home today. So I ran all the way home and I was like, Gloria, Gloria, Gloria. This girl that's always bothering me is outside. So my sister got on her clothes because she's a teenager. So she said, why are you chasing my sister? And
Mm.
the girl didn't know why.
Just doing it.
Just doing it. Just doing it. I guess I was the easy target or something. I don't know, but I don't know. She just picked me out of a group to harass. And that went on for what seemed like the whole school year, but I don't know. But just thank goodness my sister was at home and it just stopped. So tell people that's getting bullied, tell.
Yeah, it's nice to have that older sibling that you can run to, or
Mhm.
that will stick up for you in situations like that. I
And
mean,
she wasn't mean to the girl. She said, why? What did she do? And it was
hmm.
like,
That is so
And
funny.
I didn't have any more bullying problems forever until middle school.
Okay.
I was the one, but no more.
They was hating on
They
you.
they what they say, they saw my potential before I saw it.
Right, right. That's what it was. That's what it was. You had them
No.
feeling some kind of way even back then.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was just, but I had two bullies in my growing up journey, and it was just so odd. And then that one just took its time. We went to high school, and I only saw one um student from that school at the high school I went to because it was magnet school,
Hmm.
which changed my life completely. Magnet school, I think, saved a lot of people's lives that were different
Hmm.
and had a lot of things going on musically, um, performance wise, cultural wise, just theatrical.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a lot of outlets. You could spend a whole day there. And our school was deemed a historical landmark because it's old Booker T. Washington.
Okay.
And the greats have come out of there, like myself. Uh, Nadia Washington, Terry Loftus, Keith Loftus, the young gentleman, Roy Hargrove, Nora Jones, Erica Badu, Cedric Neal. He's in England. Just so many people. We even had a girl who was on Once Upon a Time, the Sunday night show.
Hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, she was the Ice Queen or something to that effect. We have some local artists. I think Don Diego was one of the very first um, successful artists that came out of the school.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's pretty cool. Especially like you said, when you're growing up during that time and you're around people that at the time, they're just friends in the neighborhood or kids you go to school with, and then
Hmm.
then you see them later on become, do great works and just walking in their purpose and such. And that's again, this is an example of what I talk about when when you reflect back on those beginnings, because sometimes being in certain environments around certain people, seeing their talents and their skills, you just never know what kind of impact it has on you, whether it's directly or indirectly, to just be
Hmm.
in that space. And even what you highlighting about, magnet school changing your life, like when I've shared, because I had a similar experience in attending a magnet school, in elementary school, and back then magnet schools were, as I've shared with people, that was more of a newer phenomenon,
Hmm.
and so when you had an opportunity to do that, especially as a kid of color, to be able to be in a school like that and get, like you said, get exposure that was outside of the normal traditional, maybe inner city public school, it was different. And different academically, as well as different in terms of your exposure to things like the arts, or or other fields of specifics that you might not otherwise, maybe have had an opportunity to even experience. You might have not had a chance to learn about, how to play an instrument, or or how to,
Hmm.
act in a particular play or drama, or learn about some of those other things. So it does make a difference, and it was really a big deal, back then. Now, the concept of it is a little bit more commonplace, but back then that wasn't a thing. you
That's right.
know
Hmm.
I used to even, sometimes I even refer to it, it was almost like a, back then, to go to that type of school was like going to the public school version of a private school. It was like
That's correct.
that's
Yeah.
kind of like what it was. It's like you would have never been able to, for most of us, we would have never been able to afford it if we came from families with limited means, but that
Hmm.
was a chance for you to get that level of experience without the cost burden on your parents, and if it was in your neighborhood, be around people who actually looked like you, and learning from those teachers who look like you, and
Yeah.
having those experiences. So now you have in-house role models, to draw from, and to model after. So that's all good stuff. Great memories that you're sharing there. So I appreciate you doing that. So Jackie, as you know, we have our childhood experiences. Some are favorable, some not so much, but nevertheless, it's just a part of growing up. But as you get into adulthood, those experiences don't go away. In fact,
Yeah.
they come more frequently, and in some instances, they start to increase in terms of their level of intensity. And
Hmm.
every now and then, you live long enough, you're going to hit some storms in life that are going to be such that when they come down your street, they're going to be a little bit heavier and weightier than the normal day to day things that you might have to deal with. So much so that you might find yourself sometimes in a situation where you don't see a way out. You don't know, how am I going to ever overcome this? This is way too burdensome. This is way too challenging. There's not some money that I can throw at it to make it go away. There's not a phone call I can make to make this thing go away. I'm in this hole. I'm in this jam. I'm in this fix, and I don't see a way out of it. So if you would, tell us about a time when you felt just like that, where you felt like the walls are closing in. I don't know how I'm going to navigate through this situation. Of course, thank God you're here today to even be able to share such a story. So, but maybe back then you had your doubts as to how that thing was going to work out. So if you would kind of walk us through what this experience was like for you, and what was ultimately the turning point where you saw some light at the end of the tunnel and coming up out of it.
Well, thinking about that, I think it's a stepping stone of a few things that have happened to me. Taking care of my mom, and I talk as the only child,
Hmm.
even though I had an army behind me. Taking care of my mom, it was something weird that happened in 2014. My older sister got sick, really sick, and I became her caregiver, and that was July 2014. And in um, maybe like a month before that, we had went to a family reunion, and I've been my mom's caregiver since the death of my dad. And we were at the family reunion, and she looked at me straight in my face and said, "I won't be back. This is my last time coming here. I'm not going to be able to make it back here." And I was like, "Oh, mom, why did you say that to me? Like, I'm the happy go lucky person. I'm not trying to hear that. It's a hot day. You just don't feel good today. You're gonna be all right." And so we get home, my older sister gets sick, and then in September, my mom gets ill. But the week before she got ill, we were sitting on the bed, and she's still doing that thing. And she says, all of my friends are gone. And I said, "But you have us. You have like all these kids. You have the neighbors." She's like, "No, it's not the same." And so between September and December, we witnessed my mom go all the way down. And she eventually passed away. And I didn't think that I could come back from that, but my sister needed me
Hmm.
still, because while she was in the hospital, one of the rehabs gave her C. diff. And that's like some germs that come, and it makes you have diarrhea for like ever, and you can die from it.
Hmm.
And she was on the strongest medicine. So my mom one time went into the hospital at Parkland, and she was on the fifth floor, and my sister was on the second floor. So we'd have to visit my mom first and then my sister, because we couldn't do it in reverse because we some kind of illness, extra illness. So, but I say that because that's when I accepted with my old with my mom that I was going to be the caregiver.
Hmm.
And since then, my cousin let us help take care of my mom's sister, and she passed away. And I'm also taking care of another sister who her one of her daughters lives in a different city, and then she has two other children, but they don't have the resources to help her. So I did these things. I helped my older sister, my mom, my aunt, and now another sister. But it all started out blindly when my dad was sick. So, like in 2007 or so, um, me and my family thought that it would be a cute idea to refinish the floors and do like a spring break remodel at my mom and dad's house. But while we were there, we noticed how sick he was and how he couldn't really walk and he was stumbling and not doing a lot of things, and he wasn't smoking as much. He was a big cigar smoker when it was popular to smoke cigars, and he just wasn't doing the things that we thought that he made him normal or made him his regular person. So we went through March in restoring the house, and we started paying attention to him. And my mom called us one night and says, "Hey, your dad slept in the guest room and he slid out the bed. I need to call the ambulance, but he won't let me. So can you come?" So me and my husband went over there, and he was having, to me, a form of dementia.
Mm.
And looking back, it was a form of dementia. He thought that someone had taken his wallet, all of this kind of stuff, and we had to get him calmed down. And eventually, he went back into his own room, and he just was doing things, not breathing. And my older sister, who was a champ at seeing things, because I had never witnessed these things before, it was my first go round. And so we took him to the doctor, and I was like, "Okay, he needs to stop doing this and he needs to do this." And the doctor says, "Miss Callahan, let your daddy do whatever he want to do." And then he put my dad on hospice, and we didn't know what that was
Mhm.
at all because we had never had a hospice person. We didn't, well, I don't even know if anybody that looked like me had ever had a person on hospice. You either died suddenly at home, or died slowly at home, or you were already in a nursing home.
Mhm.
And the people call and tell you your loved one has passed away. Um, in May, he took his leave, and you know I counted back all the time, going through, looking at some of the symptoms, and I just never saw it coming. I just never saw it coming. So when my mom and my sister got sick, I was on high alert all the time.
Mm.
And so he was my first person to care for, but I was like second. I wasn't first, so I didn't chronicle these things. I had to go back in my mind to see these downward spirals that he was having. And also, I started paying more attention to my mom and my sister. When my mom was sick, we had round the clock care. We had respites for my sister. We had, like every 4 days, my sister would be off. She would work from maybe five. So Sunday to Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, somebody else would alternate.
Mhm.
And that went on even if my mom was in the hospital. So we had a list on the wall that says who was on duty. If you're not on duty, bring food.
Mm.
If it's too much for you, bring food. But you're gonna do something. So, but we put processes in place. I think we did a good job. Um, and that catapulted me into being a caregiver for the family.
Mhm.
Because I got one sister that I think she want me to be her caregiver, but she got a daughter. Okay, you got a
Yeah.
family and some people that can move around.
Right, right.
I'm just taking care of the people that really need some help, and I will help that person.
Mhm. Wow. Well, first off, again, thank you for your transparency and sharing as you have. That subject of caregiving is such a powerful thing because one, if you've never been in that space before as a caregiver, it's definitely more than what the eyes might see. A lot of not only physical challenges that you have in taking care of that loved one, but then there's the part that doesn't oftentimes gets talked about is the that emotional and mental drain that it can have on you. Part of it, of course, is seeing that loved one going through what they're going through, so you're feeling some kind of way. Your heart is breaking for them. But then at the same time, it's just depending upon what that loved one's condition is, especially when you start talking about dementia and other things. Sometimes they may act out of way of what their normal behavior is. They might be a little bit more stubborn, a little bit more uncooperative, and sometimes even say things to you that aren't not necessarily loving and kind
Mm-hmm.
words, and you're thinking to
Mm-hmm.
yourself, you depending upon me to take care of you, and you want to act up and clown and all of that. So you got that part. And then when you're in a situation, as you just shared a moment ago, where there are other people, in this case, let's just say if we're talking about a parent, if we got other siblings around and all of that, I've heard many stories where that in itself becomes a battle because a lot of times the weight ends up falling on one person to be the caregiver, and then you got all these brothers and sisters standing in the backdrop, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what are you all doing, and no, they don't want to volunteer bringing mama or daddy to their house. They don't want to spend the time to do this or their money or their resources, and you're like, you got to kind of remember, like, hey, there was a time when you were dependent on them, that they were the ones cleaning
That's
you
right.
up and changing your diaper and washing you up and feeding you and all of that stuff. It comes full circle. And if you're blessed enough to have your parents live long enough or siblings live long enough, you might find yourself in that type of situation where you become that caregiver. Now, is it key to tap into other resources that are out there? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So if you qualify for that, if you can
Mm-hmm.
get those outside resources around the care, things of that nature, by all means take advantage of that, because there are some instances where that person steps in, even though they have a harder goal to do it, you're taking on too much. And while you're trying to help them live a more quality life in the situation that they're in, you're tearing your own self down. And it's impacting your health and your
Mm-hmm.
overall well-being. So you got to be mindful of that. So I like the fact that you spoke about how you had the situation where we had a list and we had a roster on who's on point during this time, and if by chance you said, all right, this is just too much for me to handle. Okay. Well, then you on food duty. You bring some meals. You're gonna do something, And I think that's only fair, in
Mm-hmm.
situations like that, that everybody rallies around. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is because I've had that experience as well. When you shared about your mom, basically having that conversation with you about, when I think you were at the family reunion, and she said, "This is going to be my last time coming back." I casually refer to this as when I would have such kind of conversation. These are what I would refer to as the death conversations. And my mom did something similar to that with me. At her last birthday party. It's probably gonna be my last time. I'm not gonna be around. Speaking of, and it used to bother me a lot at first. Made me, like as you shared, made you uncomfortable. Because one, you don't want to think about that loved one passing, and you
Mm-hmm.
feel like don't talk about that. You going It's almost like you're trying to mind trick yourself into thinking that they're gonna be around forever. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that to me, I think it's more than just them talking. I think it's their way of preparing us for the
Yes.
inevitable, and I think God works through them to kind of help to begin. It's almost like God is working through them to begin the mourning process before it happens, to kind of prepare
Yeah.
your heart, to prepare your mind, so that when it does come about, yeah, it's going to hurt, but it won't be this big ultimate shock. Like you kind of had some signs that this was coming. So even as you shared, as you've had your caregiving experiences, and you begin to be more in tune to the different signals, the different signs of what you're seeing, to let you know, is this something to not be too overly worried about, or versus this over here, yeah, we need to get this addressed. I need you to
Mm-hmm.
go see the doctor about this, and things like that. Again, God equipping you to be able to handle you know what you are operating in as a caregiver, because in your situation you've had an opportunity to be caregiver multiple times, and again, you have to obviously lean on that strength of God to be able to do so, but also again, being mindful of yourself because hey, I gotta make sure I'm in shape and right in my right mind and able to function. If I allow myself to get too worn out trying to care for everybody else, that's not fair, on you either. So totally respect, totally appreciate that. And for any of our listeners who are in caregiving situations, much respect to you. And for those who are concerned about the possibility that it looks like it's leaning in that direction, please take heed to some of the things that Jackie is sharing. I mean, these are very real circumstances, very real moments that are going to occur, and those conversations, even though they may be difficult, it's important to have them, especially if it looks like it's coming to the end, because I'm sure you've been bear witness to the people who don't prepare, who do ignore those signs, and then the moment happens, and then nobody knows how to do anything. We don't know, did mama, daddy have a will? Did they have things
That's
set
right.
up for their funerals? Did they have what do we have? How are we gonna even properly have that final homegoing service? Do we have money to take care of that? Things of that nature,
Hmm.
or are we
Hmm.
now being one of those unfortunate people who I'm scrambling, throwing up a GoFundMe page and hoping for people to contribute so
Yeah.
I can give my loved one a proper burial. And if you've ever gone through that experience, that's a whole nother level. Because trust and believe, these cemeteries, they will hold your loved one above the ground if they don't get their money. They're not gonna
Hmm.
bury them first and then hope that you promise to pay. The mortician will keep your loved one in the fridge. You know,
Hmm.
you won't have a service, or you'll be converting what you thought was going to be a formal service, and we're going to be start talking about
Yeah.
cremations and things like that. But again, it's all about the preparation, both financially and logistically speaking, but also the preparation mentally and emotionally as well. So I appreciate you sharing that, because there's a lot of people who are dealing with that reality or are going to deal with that reality one day. So it's definitely an important conversation to have.
Hmm.
So Jackie, when you do find yourself, you've shared some heaviness, in your life, losing loved ones, having to care for others, and in that regard. But it's not always going to be heavy like that. Sometimes it's just lifing type stuff that we deal with. But what I am curious to know from you is when you do find yourself facing a moment of challenge, a moment of adversity, what is it that you like to do that kind of works best for you in terms of how you process and work through those challenging moments when you find yourself in such situations?
Well, of course. Um, well, it was so funny because the last 2 years, people pray.
Mm-hmm.
They pray when they get up, they pray over their meals, they pray at nighttime. But I asked the Lord to help me pray for others, pray for um, things that's happening in the world, which people do this, but for me, um, going into it more and praying without really ceasing. And I put that on a vision board. And what did I do that for?
Hmm.
Because it manifested.
Mm.
So I pray, and I saw this thing that I'm going to incorporate. I just saw it about a week ago, but I'm going to incorporate it. And it's people who give you cards. Um, for Christmas, we got about 25 cards, and I'm going to pray over them. Pray for the people who sent me those cards because they thought enough of me and my family to send us a greeting. I'm going back to February when I got hundreds of birthday cards and pray for
Mhm.
all of those people, not for more gifts
Mhm.
for 2025, but to pray and to thank them and to thank God for putting these types of people in my life to support me. And so each time I try to elevate my uh my prayer session. I try to do something that's meaningful for me to just absorb and what I'm praying about, so that I pray that if it is about a person who has lost a loved one, that they truly can find comfort, that they truly can do some of the things that they need to get done, or a situation. My grandgirls, they're in college. I pray for them that Um, they're not caught off guard, that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And these are what regular people pray for, but this is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And just more of a purpose, not a nonchalant type situation or prayer. Also, going back kind of to the caregiving, I try to make sure that I put myself in circles with people that I can help and feel, like I went through something for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell my friends, I've experienced that. And if you want to know, and it wasn't that gentle. uh, there are some things that the Lord allowed me to go and be first. And if you want to know about it, I can tell you whether you do these steps or not. But this is how I handled it, and you may have to put a different spin on it, but something can happen for the good, even if something is going on. And then organizations, for me, the last couple of years, the Lord put, I'm on social media all the time. People think that it's obsessive. You mean it for good, somebody else mean it for bad. But
Mm-hmm.
I truly look at it like somebody is watching TV. Well, you watching TV all day. You listening to the radio all day. You watching a game for 4 hours. That's my argument. So that's my argument. But I'm studying, I'm looking at things, I'm preparing for the next day. I may see a restaurant that I might want to go to. I may see a um, nursing home that found out how to use social media for people like me. It's a place in Richardson, a nursing home that actually has tea parties. And I'm going like, I'm going to go to that. And then one day I saw this group called Melanin Minded, where this man who had the same situation that I had, you see your parent going down, you don't know what's going on, you go to the doctor. Sometimes they can help you, sometimes they don't. They don't act like they know what they're doing sometimes. But this guy's journey resonated with me, him and his mom, and he had a gala, and I went to it. And I try to go now every year. And if somebody to uh, need some help, I point them straight to this man's company. He has an app for dementia people who need car rides. So it's not in Texas, but it's where he's actually from, Kansas, Missouri, somewhere up there. And just things. Put yourself in. I try to put myself in circles that allow me to help others, because
Mm-hmm.
that's all I know to do is to help. That's all I know. So I'm always trying to study. If I'm reading a book, I might jump in and try to do what the character did. And my poor husband, he helps me with these shenanigans too.
Mm-mm-mm.
My daughter, my children, and my husband all are in on the shenanigans.
Wow, wow.
So
You know, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. What I love about what you um shared in this is, usually when I ask people, what do they do when they're dealing with challenging times, a lot of the theme that I heard in your response in this is that yes, you pray, which is definitely of importance, but you are making it a point to be intentional on an ongoing basis to lift up others in prayer. In other words, you're finding your peace, your strength in thinking about other people instead of always making it about you. And and I think that's, to a certain degree, that's in alignment with the way God wants us to be, to where we think of others. Not that He wants us to neglect ourselves, but that He,
mhm,
but also at the same time, don't always make it about you.
mhm,
That you're not the only one going through. You're not the only one with a challenge. You're not the only one with a situation. You know, So when you go into prayer, yes, ask God for what it is that you think you need, the help that you need, or what have you, the comforting that you need. But don't forget about that there are others out there who are struggling. Some who are struggling way more mightier than you are. going through some storms way heavier than things that you would never even, that you may not even ever in life experience that they're going through. They might look at your problem and think of it as, that's all you got going on in comparison to what I got. I'd love to switch places with you. So I think it's important for us to be mindful of that,
Mhm.
and again, just always looking to be of encouragement and to be of inspiration to other people. And so it's clear that just even in how you responded, and just even overall in the sharing of your story, that that's what you represent, and you're being very proactive and very intentional in trying to do more and more of that. And that's just, to me, that's just God using you and working through you in the gifts that He's placed inside of you to be that loving, coming alongside type of person, that person who is a good support, for others. And I think when you do that, that naturally puts you in a position to have others want to do that for you. Not everybody will. There,
Mhm.
trust, there gonna be some folks that you think should, and they won't. But but even in that situation, when we're relying on God, He'll open up doors and He'll bring people who might be complete strangers that will do the world for you. That will that will
Mhm.
go over and beyond the call of duty to be there and be of support to you. So don't even be caught up even in the fact that if that person that you call friend or that person that you call family doesn't step up and come through, because we can't automatically expect that what you do for them that they would automatically do for you. Even in the caretaking role, as much of a
That's
caretaker
correct.
as you are, there's some folks who ain't gonna caretake for you. They,
That
they,
is
they
correct.
just they just won't do it,
That's correct.
even though
That's
you would
correct.
do it for
That's why
them.
you need to leave a directive.
Yeah, you need to be clear. Be clear as to how you want things to go. In the event I am unable to speak for myself,
Hmm.
in the event that I'm
One, two,
unable
and
to care
three.
for myself,
Mhm.
this is the order. This is what needs to happen. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So definitely, valuable information that you've shared in how you approach dealing with challenges, because you're just not waiting for the scenario to happen. You're creating this lifestyle of thinking of others and praying for others. That in itself is powerful in helping you when you do find yourself in those difficult moments and such.
And I
So
laugh and play a lot, but I'm alone a lot as
mm-hmm.
well.
Okay.
And I also know that I'm not going to get a do over that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
So I try to be intentional, I try to be loving, and I try to troubleshoot.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel like if God put you near me, He know I'm gonna talk to you. So I'm gonna try to say something to you that's helpful and not just too far off the wall because I can go there, but the Lord leads me to say whatever I say.
Yes,
Because
yes.
sometimes I'm the person that just breaks it all up. If it's a sad occasion, it can't be a sad occasion if I'm there.
That's good.
It just can't be. And depending on the person, let's say that it is a solemn type place. Well, was the person solemn?
Mm-hmm.
If the person is solemn, then we're gonna be solemn. If the person was not solemn, then that's not. I'm quite sure that's not what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, because it immediately makes me think about when before my mom passed, that was in that death conversation, that was one of the things that she talked about, it. When my time comes, I don't want this
Hmm.
sorrow, this all dreary, sad, all that. She said, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. She's like, I want to be missed, but I don't want
Right.
this all
Hmm.
miserable exists. I want my funeral to have energy. I want my repast
Hmm.
to have energy, because my mom used to
Hmm.
love to sing karaoke. So she had her little karaoke crew or whatever, and so we had people singing, and it wasn't all singing sad songs and everything. And the
Hmm.
repast was like a party, and it was like, but that's exactly what she would have wanted.
Hmm.
So I respect what you say. Think about, what would this person have wanted this, even in
Hmm.
even in a caretaking moment. There's a difference between you feeling sorry for me and you just being compassionate and understanding. I don't necessarily want you to feel sorry for me. I just want you to be a support for me. Help me get through those dark days. Help me, navigate through. Just be there for me. Sometimes that's just enough to know somebody cares
Hmm.
enough to be there. They don't need you know all the other stuff that we sometimes do, not thinking through what kind of impact that
Hmm.
really has, or if we're just making matters even worse. in those
Right.
situations. So,
Hmm.
that's definitely good stuff that you're bringing up. I mean, it's so
Yeah. I've
important.
even taken neighbors to the doctor.
Hmm.
And one of them has a sister, and the sister called, "Can you take my sister to the doctor?" I'm that one because there's someone says, "Oh, no, 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 I want Jackie to take me to the doctor." Because she's going to ask them questions and she's going to do
Hmm.
this because you don't know what you don't know.
Right, right.
You don't. And so, you know, go with go with someone's loved one, take time out.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you another thing. I retired at 55 to be a full-time caregiver for my sister.
Hmm.
And my uh, bosses said, "Well, what's really going on?" And I said, "Well, I'm number 9. When I'm ready to retire, how do you think everybody's health is going to be in 10 years or 5 years?"
Hmm.
And see, we already lost one. And I said, "We can't go on a cruise. We're going to have walkers, wheelchairs, and no, no, we supposed to do some stuff now. And if I
Right.
have to go back to work at 65, so let it be. But right now, we're going to take a break and we're going to enjoy ourselves."
Love that. Love that. That makes total sense. Makes total sense because the reality is that tomorrow isn't promised, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't want to wait until I'm all broke down and can't
Mm-hmm.
maneuver or anything like that to say, okay, now I'm retired. Now I'm gonna go ahead and
Mm-hmm. My
and
brother
start doing
passed
something.
away the same year he retired.
Mm,
And now that's one thing I never got over because he worked from a young boy to an older man, and you die?
yeah,
You die as soon? No, 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 no.
yeah. Those are always sad stories, and I think, and I've had this conversation. I think a lot of people had that reflection, including myself, when COVID hit, when you saw how life was just taken from people of all walks of life, all ages. Some of the most healthiest people around was getting
Mhm,
checked out by COVID, and it started to that isolation time gave a lot of us an opportunity to think about life a whole different way. And you started saying, you know what? I know originally I was planning on retiring when I got to 65. I don't know if I want to stay that long now.
mhm,
I don't know if I want to run the risk of, you know, wearing myself down just to devote my life to a company who,
mhm,
unfortunately for many of us, don't really care about you like that, and
mhm.
because I've seen people die on the job,
I have to.
and it's just amazing if you've never experienced that, and you see how fast the
Mhm.
transition is from today they pass, and by next week the
Right.
cubicle is cleaned out and replaced with a new body, and you off all the systems. It's like you were never there. I
That's
mean,
right.
it's just that fast, and I don't know if I want to go out like that, or as we just talked about a few moments ago, being that person who retired in January and then by November,
Mhm,
oh, you hear about such and
mhm.
such, they passed away. No, I don't want. No, it's not. That's not what retirement is supposed to be. So,
Correct.
where okay, now you're retired to die.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
no, I'm not want to retire
No.
to die. I mean, I know that day will come, but that's not how I want to trigger it. I want to, like you said, while I'm still limbs are still able to move about and I'm in my
Right.
right mind and things of that nature. I want to be able to enjoy life and on all the experiences that it has, but also to what we've been talking about for majority of our time together is just having an opportunity to be able to pour back into other people, and to show my gratitude, my support, my love for other people. My thanks for God doing what He's done for me, and giving a little bit of that to somebody else who might be less fortunate, or just simply in need of help, and I'm able to provide that help. So Jackie, if you had the opportunity, when you think back to all the experiences of the past, and all the memories, good times, bad times, and everything in between, if you could sit across the table and speak to the younger Jackie, the things that she's had to encounter and endure, or perhaps thinking about the fact that there's somebody that's listening to our episode and they're going through some things that you talked about, these caregiving scenarios. They have loved ones who are not doing so great, and they're the one who's going to be called upon to possibly have to step up and things of that nature, and they don't know how they're going to be able to take on this because this is a big pill to swallow. This is a big weight to carry. What would be your words of encouragement to those who who are struggling with that kind of situation, or again, just words of advice that you would have to younger Jackie? What would you tell her that you wish she knew then, that you know now, that you think would make life better for her, or at least give her a better perspective on how to deal with the adversities and challenges of life?
Don't laugh because I have thought of this because we played Family Truth or Dare
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years ago. And I'm pretty okay with how everything has gone on because if it hadn't, then it's certain people I wouldn't know. It's certain situations I wouldn't have the children that I have. But it is one thing that I would change, and it would be to pay attention to math because we've when I was growing up, everyone had some type of career or some type of performance or just whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and it did not include math. What am I going to do that includes math? That is a trick. That's a trick. You need everything that the school is trying to teach you because they've taken everything out except math
Mm-hmm.
and history and science. But I probably would be a better math student. I just I just would. That's the only thing that I think has um my mom and my dad, they were just whippersnappers in math. And it was kind of what is it when it's like overbearing to you? But they were everybody I know is just like I've always depended on somebody else. Now I can count money, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But just things, just things to do to build a building, just real math,
Mm-hmm.
real math. I think that I would like to have done something more math wise. I'm a talker, but it's you have that range, you know, um, what you're proficient in, and then what you need to
Mm-hmm.
work on. Well, talking is way there and math is way over there, but I like for it to have been closer to talking
Right, right.
because I just that's the only thing. But my life is my life. Uh, I enjoy all the people that I've met. It's probably one or two people in my life that I probably could have lived without meeting, but you but you don't get a do-over. You just appreciate that the Lord allowed you to move forward and to be the best person that you can be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't think it's silly about what you said about math. I know the way you said it, it made it seem simplistic, but the reality is, I think for a lot of us, including myself, I mean, I was actually good at math coming up, but I wish I was better at math when I think about it from the standpoint of financial management reasons,
Mhm,
things that I wish I would have done better when you start talking about, whether it be savings, investments, things of that nature.
mhm,
Because, growing up, and I've had this conversation before surrounding that is, I learned, when I think about learning math, not just the subject in school, but math in terms of life skills, I
mhm,
learned from my mom how to navigate money based off of from a survivalist standpoint, like
mhm,
how to take a little bit and get a lot out of it. You asked me how to stretch a dollar. I can tell you how to do that.
mhm, mhm,
But we never had those conversations about math from a life perspective when you start talking about savings and investments and and credit and things of that nature, things that I wish I would have known much sooner in life, because
mhm,
when I think about the resources that God has blessed me with financially over the years, there's so much more I could have done with that,
mhm,
and
mhm.
and and
Yeah,
and and
encompassed.
yeah, and just eliminate a lot of stress and problems that I didn't need to have, because I would have known how to do that versus carrying that survivalist mentality where it said when you get a dollar, the goal was is to spend it all, but just make sure you got as much out of the dollar as you possibly could,
Mhm,
rather than saying don't spend all of that, put a part of it to the side, do some of it with this and some of it with that, and then take the rest of it and work off of. So I think that would apply to a lot of
Mhm.
people. Math is a very critical skill set to learn, but a lot of people, like you said, while some of us have a natural knack for it, there are many of us who don't, and we ignore it, and we don't, and
Mhm.
we minimize the power of knowing that particular subject because it applies in so many different ways. Again, whether
Mhm.
it's our financial strength, or if we take it to another level spiritually, when we start talking about the importance of money as it pertains to giving, in terms of your
Mhm.
tithe and an
Mhm.
offering. So that again is another angle why many of us don't have an appreciation for that because of our lack of understanding about math. So again, while you said what you said, it might may have came off in a more simplistic way. There's a very deep, deep sense of urgency behind that. So yeah, I would encourage
Mhm.
everybody. Yeah, if math is not your thing, you need to make it your thing. Does that
Mhm.
mean you need to become a mathematician?
Yeah.
No, but you need to understand it in the big
Mhm.
scheme of things, as it pertains to life and how, and more importantly, how God would like us to utilize math. When he speaks of it, whether it be in giving and our tithes and offerings, or whether it be
Mhm.
given in terms of how we are supposed to multiply, how we're supposed to be productive. You look at it even from that
Mhm.
perspective, that he doesn't expect us to just be beings who just go through life and only do a little bit. He wants us to, as we said, be fruitful and multiply. And that doesn't just mean be fruitful and multiply in terms of
Right.
expanding your family. It also means taking
Yeah.
your gift and
Mhm.
multiplying, what you have in that gift, and being a blessing to other people as he's equipped you to be able to do so. So those are the things that we want to keep in mind in regards to that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
everyone around me, my whole family, and I always like to believe that before we all came to Earth, we made up a person. And I said, well, I'm going to give all my math skills to my children.
right, right.
Because my baby, he's who is 31, he from a very young age, it was like this.
Mm-hmm.
And now he works on planes. So I
Awesome.
think I gave it
Yeah.
up before I came to
it,
Earth.
it was
And
a
I said, my
sacrifice you
son could
made.
have all of it.
Yeah. It was you said I'm gonna sacrifice my math skills and go ahead. That's like sometimes when people
Yeah. If
you
if
know
it just take me a little longer, then that's fine. But I'm gonna give everything that I have to him. And so
that's how you
now,
do it.
yeah, and so now he works on planes. So
That's awesome. I say that all the time when it comes to, I don't have them on now like I'm supposed to wear my glasses. And, I said, well, it was a sacrifice I had to make. I said, God said either you could have green eyes, but you had the sacrifice was you can't see. And so, well, so I took one for the team and I said, you know what? I'll have a pair of glasses on the side, and I'll just roll with this. I said, we'll just do that.
amen.
Sometimes we had to make those sacrifices.
That's
Just like
hysterical.
oh man.
I love it. I
So
love it.
so
But that's
Jackie,
just mhm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but I've had a wonderful time on your show today.
I've had a wonderful time having you on the show. It has been a treat, a pleasure. Your transparency, your vulnerability, and sharing it as you have shared, as I knew from the start, and then you just didn't disappoint. It's been a blessing to me. I know it's going to be a blessing to my listeners as well. So I thank you for taking the time that you have. Now, as is customary, of course, here on the Blessings and Street podcast, before I let you go, I do want to take an opportunity to celebrate you, to love on you, to acknowledge you. So if you would share with us, if you got anything personally and or professionally that's coming up, or going on right now that we need to know, that we can, again, that we can celebrate and acknowledge, please do that. We want to know all about that good stuff. So tell us what's happening for Jackie right now, or what's coming up that we need to know about, we can celebrate.
Well, like I said earlier, I like talking to people, and if I'm in your circle, we're going to talk about some things. So in June, I went to a book launch and I had a random conversation with a gentleman and his wife. The gentleman said, "Hey, I'm writing a book." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he told me what the book was about. And I said, "Well, have you thought about one, two, three, four, five?" So he says, "Hmm." And he wrote down everything I said. And I remember him writing it down. And so about a month ago, he said, "Hey, Miss Jackie, um, I wrote that book and I want to highlight you at the book launch."
All right.
So on February the 8th, I'll be at Bar Louie getting a little praise because the book is him. It's about him. I just helped him structure. And I'm the book club coordinator at church. And we are just on fire. We're reading so many good books and we're meeting so many authors. So you have a book launch coming, or you have a book that's coming out in 2 days.
On the 28th.
Yeah, today's 26th.
Today's the 23rd. We got 5 more
23rd,
days.
5 days, 5 days. See about that math. But but I think that's from being retired and not caring what day it is.
Right, right.
uh no, just traveling, doing some things, just trying to stay relevant, helping my daughter in love, uh rear the children, hoping to be a grandmother soon, for the eighth time. So just things that encourage me to be a good disciple of Christ.
Well, hey, that's a great thing to celebrate in itself. So I'm thankful that you have that opportunity, that you were able to inspire, an up and coming author, and he took your information and rolled with it, and he's got books coming out, and of course with your work that you're doing with the book club, and for my listeners, of course they don't know, but I've had the pleasure of being invited to your book club later this year, so
Mhm.
I'm excited about that, and just again, just the support and that you have for your family and loved ones, at all the ages and sizes, and being there for them, I want to definitely acknowledge that, celebrate that, and wish you nothing but blessings and favor in everything that you do, everything that you touch, in your family, etc. Because again, God is continuing to use you in a mighty way, and none of this is by accident. He's using your gift
No.
of talk. He's using your gift of encouragement, support, all of those good things, wrapping it all, packaging it up, all nice and neat, um, to where you can be a blessing to other people. And as a result of doing that, God finds favor in that, and as a result, wants to continue to be a blessing to you as well. So. Thank you for sharing that. I'm excited for you and everything that you're about to embark on and experience. I know in a couple more weeks you got a birthday yourself coming up. You're a Valentine's birthday girl. So we got that coming up. So I'm sure you're gonna have a good time with that. So yeah, plenty to celebrate, plenty to acknowledge, and that's why I like to
Mhm.
take this moment to celebrate that and acknowledge it accordingly, because we don't want to take life lightly. We don't want to assume that tomorrow is promised. So we want to
Right.
give you your flowers now. So while
Mhm.
we can. So again, Jackie, thank you so much for sharing and being a part of the podcast. It's been a pleasure having you aboard. And to my listeners, if you've enjoyed our show today, you enjoy what we're doing here, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is about. We want to encourage, we want to inspire, we want to uplift, we want to share stories where we're being transparent, we're being raw, we're being open, not because we're trying to gain attention or likes or anything like that, but it's about understanding and identifying with the fact that we all go through some challenging times and situations, and every now and then you might feel like you're the only one that's having that happen. Well, you're not. You're not
Right.
alone. You're not the only one going through it. The storms are a part of life, but the key is to not see them as negative events, but instead see them as opportunities for you to grow, to develop, to become a better version of yourself. But most importantly, understanding the importance of having a relationship with God, because in that relationship, He can be your strength, your comforter, and getting you through particularly these more difficult and challenging times of life. We weren't built to do this stuff by ourselves, and He wants that relationship. He wants that bond with you. And I'm here to tell you, if you don't have a relationship with God, and I'm sure Jackie will co-sign on this, today is a mighty fine day to make that decision, and it'll be the greatest decision that you ever make. Not something that we heard about, something that we can tell you that we know from firsthand experience as to how He's moved in our respective lives and in the lives of others that we know. So don't take that lightly. Lean on Him, trust in Him, and watch Him do magnificent and mighty and wonderful things for you. So, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, remember here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, you keep fighting that good fight. You stay encouraged, stay in relationship with God, lean on Him for His understanding, for His guidance and His direction, and just watch Him show up and show out in ways beyond your wildest dreams and imaginations. Let Him direct you in your purpose so you can walk in it boldly and proudly and make an impact on this world while you're here, doing the things of God that He would like for you to do and aligning with His will. So until next time, you take care of yourselves, and I look forward to seeing you again. Have a great rest of your day.